Hello, everyone. Good morning. Good morning. Okay. Okay, let's continue. The formula Rothschild formula. Let us imagine a man who's totally pragmatic. Okay, pragmatic. He's smarter and more cunning. Kerning, kerning, kerning than most men, and in fact hold them in thinly disguised contempt. In thinly disguised contempt. 什么意思呢？ What does it mean? 哦哦哦哦，嗯嗯嗯嗯嗯嗯嗯嗯嗯 ，OK。Let us imagine 聪明狡猾，事实上，他对他们怀有毫不掩饰的亲密。In fact, hold them in thinly disguised contempt. 毫不掩饰 thinly disguised contempt. He may respect the talents of a few. He may respect the talents of a few, but has little concern over the condition of mankind. Little concern. He has observed that kings and politicians are always fighting over something or other, and has concluded that wars are inevitable. He also has learned that wars can be profitable not only by lending or creating the money to finance them, but from government favoritism in the granting of commercial subsidies or monopolies. Is not capable of such a primitive feeling as a patri, patriotism, patriotism. So he's free to participate in the funding of any side in any conflict, limited only by factors of self-interest. If such a man were so survey the world, if such a man were to survey the world around him, it's not difficult to imagine that he would come to the following conclusion, which would become a prime directives of his career. If such a man翻译成中文 一个人审视他周围的世界，不难想象他会得罪，而将这位主要之人。Were use such a man were to survey the world around him. If such a man were to survey the world around him, it's not difficult to imagine that the world comes to the following. He will conclude which will become prime director of his career. War is the ultimate 最终的 dis discipline 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 to any discipline to any government if it can successfully meet the challenge of war. It will survive. If it cannot, it will perish. Perish. All else is secondary. The sanctity of its laws, the prosperity of its citizens, and the solvency of its treasury will be quickly sacrificed by any government in its primal act of self-survival. 战争对任何政府都是终极反激素 ultra discipline 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 惩罚。如果他能成功应对战争的挑战，他是；如果不能，其他一切都是次要的。法律的神圣性什么什么偿还能力都会被任何政府在自我生存的本能中迅速牺牲。Sacrificed by any government in its primary act of self-survival is the utmost discipline, ultimate discipline to any government. If it can successfully meet the challenge of war, it will survive. If it cannot, it will perish. All else is secondary. The sanctity of its laws, the property of its citizens, and terms of its charity, solvency of its treasury, will be quickly sacrificed by any government in its primary act of self-survival. 你学习为此，为了最原始的生命，毫不虚拟的谈。我这个翻译的好哎！哇 ，all that is necessary. Therefore, to ensure that A government will maintain or expand its debt is to involve it in war or the threat of war. The greater the threat and threat, yes, and the more destructive the war, the greater the more and the more destructive the war 破坏 the greater the need for debt. To involve a country in war or the threat of a war, it will be necessary for it to have enemies with credible military might. If such enemies already exist, all the better. If they exist but lack military strength, it will be necessary to provide them the money to build their war machine. If an enemy does not exist at all, then it will be necessary to create one by financing the rise of a hostile regime. Hostile, 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 hostile regime. The ultimate object of obstacle is a government which declines to finance its war through debt. Decline to finance. That means the object is a government which declined to finance its war through debt, although this seldom happens. When it does, it will be necessary to encourage internal political opposition, insurrection, or revolution to replace the government with one that is more compliant to our will. The assassination of heads of state could play an important role in this process. No nation can be allowed to remain militarily stronger than its adversaries. No nation can be allowed to remain militarily stronger than its adversaries. For that could lead to peace or a reduction of debt. Then its adversary for that could lead to peace or a reduction of debt. To accomplish this balance of power, it may be necessary to finance both sides of conflict, unless one of the combatants is hostile to our interests and therefore must be destroyed. Neither side should be allowed a decisive victory. Decisive, no, decisive, yeah, decisive, decisive victory or defeat. Well, we must always proclaim the virtues of peace. The unspoken objective is perpetual war. 没有政府，没有国家能够保持强大的军队，如果 任何国家都不允许军事上边，那是因为为了实现这种力量平衡，可能需要自主中立双方就还有第一因素必须，否则任何一方都不应该允许取得决定性的胜利或失败。虽然我们必须宣扬和平的美德，但未说出口的目标永远是战争。绝不允许任何国家在军事上凌驾于其敌手之上，否则和平和债务将减免。为了维持军事，自主交战双方是必要之举，除非某方是我等利必须产，敌视我等利必须铲除，否则绝不可令其分出胜负。口头上，吾等务必高唱和平之赞歌，而心底则期盼战火之永燃。和平之战果，战火之永燃。我天呐，这 Gemini 这么牛，你的翻译太棒了，你的翻译太棒了。任何国家，这可能为了实现这种就是什么，其中一方对我们的利益怀有敌意之必须，否则任何一方都因为决定的人，否则虽然我们生成，但为严明的目标却是永恒的战争。No nation can be allowed to remain militarily stronger than its adversaries. Adversary 对手，adversary 对手。For that could lead to peace and reduction of debt. To accomplish this balance of power, it may be necessary to finance both sides of the conflict, unless one of the combatants 参战 combatant is hostile to our interests and therefore must be destroyed. Neither side should be allowed a decisive victory or defeat. Well, we must always proclaim the word of peace. Proclaim 宣扬 proclaim the virtues of peace 和平之美德，战火之永恒，是什么？战火之永燃。Whether anyone actually put this strategy into words or pass it along from generations to generation is not important. In fact, it's doubtful it has ever worked that way, whether it is the product of conscious planning 谨慎的、有意识的、有意的啊，有意识的 conscious 有意识的 is the product of conscious planning or merely the consequence of men responding to the profit opportunities inherent in fiat money. The world's financial laws have acted as though they were following such a plan, and this has become especially apparent since the creation of central bank mechanism 3 centuries ago. The balance of power question is particularly intriguing. Intriguing. Most history texts present the concept as though there was some kind of na- natural, natural social phenomenon, social phenomenon which somehow has worked to the benefit of mankind. Mhm. The balance of power or question is particularly interesting. 权力平衡这本尤其引人入胜。我的妈！大多数历史教科书将这表述为某种自然的社会现象，似乎在某种程度上对人类有利。仿佛他不知怎地，仿佛他不知怎地一直造福人类，不知何故给人带来益处。Power question is particularly intriguing. The most history texts present the concept as though it were some kind of nature social phenomenon which somehow has worked to the benefit of mankind. The implication is that it's just wonderful how, after all those European wars, when the United States emerged from World War II with exactly such power, it was widely deployed, and massive political financial mechanism such as foreign aid and disarmament were set in motion to restore the balance. This has become almost a revered doctrine of international democracy, but the overlooked consequence of this sentimental notion is that wars between equals have become the permanent landscape of history. 哇，他这个翻译的真棒啊！其隐含的意思是，the implication is that it's just wonderful how, after all these Europe wars, no nation was strong enough to dominate the others. When the industry from a war with exactly such power, it was widely deployed. Widely deployed. And massive financial mechanisms such as foreign aid and disarmament were set in motion to restore the balance. This has become almost a revered doctrine of international democracy. 这几乎成为国际民主中一条备受尊崇的信条。A revered doctrine doctrine, 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 doctrine. But the overlooked consequence of this sentimental notion is that the wars between equals have become the permanent landscape of history. 当美国在二战以后如此强大的力量崛起时，受到了广泛的谴责 widely explored, widely deplore 大规模的征用军人并对外援助财军，以恢复平衡，这几乎成为国人日教条。然而，这种改进观念或被忽视的后果是 But the overlooked consequence of this is that overlooked consequence 看漏了，被忽视的后果 wars between equals became the permanent landscape of history. 其弦外之音无非是赞叹欧洲列强连年战红，竟无一国独大，委实妙哉！待到二战落幕，美利坚独揽霸权，世人却群起而攻之，外援、财军等政治经济手段纷至沓来，意在重塑军事。此论调俨然已成为国际民主之规谬。然而，这般矫情的观念却铸就了旗鼓相当之战永驻史册的悲剧。我的天哪，你 Oh my god, oh my god, Gemini 2, oh my god, you are the god! You really amazing! This does not mean that every warlike group that comes along will find easy financing from the lords and masters. It depends on whom they threaten and how likely they are to succeed. In 1830, for example, the Dutch were facing an uprising of their subjects in Belgium. Both the ruling government and the revolutionaries were dependent upon the Rothschilds for financing their conflict. The Dutch rulers were reliable customers for loans, and just important, they were reliable in their payment of interest on those loans, and would have been foolhardy to provide more than token assistance to the rebels who, if they came to power, quite likely would have refused to honor the debts of the former Papist regime. 天哪，我忍不住了啊，忍不住，真的是忍不住啊！这个翻译太棒了。这并不意味着任何战争的产地都能轻易从领主或主人那获得，这取决于他们威胁的对象以及他们成功的可能性。荷兰在其比利时成名中面临起义。Dutch 荷兰统治政府和革命者都依赖政府提供资金，荷兰统治者可依靠贷款客户是可靠的，而同样重要的是，他们是 不止利息向叛乱分子提供超过象征性的援助将是愚蠢的，因此，因为如果他们展现很可能拒绝承认傀儡政权的债务。OK，看一下这样，并非任何战乱势力皆能轻而易举地从幕后权贵获取财力支持，关键在于其威胁对象以及胜算几何。以1930年为例，荷兰与比利时遭遇臣民叛乱，和政府与叛军皆仰赖 Rothschild 家族的资金。荷兰统治者素来是可靠的借贷用户，并且按时偿还利息，此乃重中之重。若向叛军进入过多援助，实属不智。一旦叛军得势，极有可能拒不承认前傀儡政权所欠之债务。This does not mean that every warlike group that comes along will find easy financing from the lords and masters 权贵 lords and masters. It depends on whom they threaten and how likely they are to succeed. For example, the Dutch were facing an uprising of their subjects in Belgium. Both ruling governments and the revolutionaries were dependent upon the Rothschilds for financing their conflict. The Dutch rulers were reliable customers for loans, and just as important, they were reliable in their payments of interest on those loans. It would have been foolhardy to provide more than token assistance to the rebels who, if they came to power, quite likely would have refused to honor the debts of the former puppet regime. Puppet. Foolhardy to provide more than token assistance. 象征性的援助。To the rebels. Oh, if they came to power, quite likely have to refuse to honor the debts of the former puppet regime. Huh. Solomon Rothschild explained, "These gentlemen should not count on us unless they decide to follow a line of prudence and moderation. Our goodwill does not yet extend to the point of putting clubs into the hands that would beat us, that is, lending money to make war and ruin the credit that we sustain with all our efforts and all our means." These gentlemen should not count on us unless they decide to follow a line of prudence and moderation. 谨慎的、温和的路线。Follow a line of prudence and moderation. Should not count on us, unless it had to follow a line of prudence and moderation. Moderation, 节制的、缓和的 moderation, prudence, 谨慎的 prudence, 审慎的和温和的路线。Prudence moderation. Our goodwill does not yet extend to the point of putting clubs into the hands that would beat us. 我们的善意 our goodwill does not yet extend to the point of putting clubs into the hands that would beat us. 棍棒。That is lending money to make war and ruin the credit that we sustain with our efforts and all our means. 这就意味着借钱去发展战争，最后我们用尽一切努力维持的信誉。Lending money to make war and ruin the credit that we sustain with our efforts and our means. 不指望，不仅指望除非他们我们的善意并未延伸的棍棒打到我们，也就是说借钱去发动战争被毁掉。这些先生们若不秉持审慎和克制之道，休想指望吾等。吾等之善意尚未宽容至资敌自戕之境地，即借贷助其兴兵，毁吾等殚精竭虑所维系之信誉。我的妈呀 ！Oh my goodness! To make war and ruin the credit that we sustain with all our efforts and all our means. 殚精竭虑所维系之信誉。我的天哪，你就是神！ After the revolution was resolved by negotiation rather than by arms, the new government in Brussels was a natural target for financial takeover. James Rochefort laid out the strategy that has become the model of such operations ever since. Now is the moment of which we should take advantage to make ourselves absolute masters of that country's finances. The first step will be establish ourselves on an intimate footing with Belgium's new finance minister, to gain his confidence and to take all the treasury bonds he may offer us. 先翻译上面这个，太棒了，太棒了，太棒了！这么难，你简直是可以封神了。 在革命通过谈判为武力，布鲁塞尔的新政府自然成为金融接管的目标。典范的策略。After the revolution was resolved by negotiations rather than by arms, the new government in Brussels was a natural target for financial takeover. Gesture should lay out the strategy that has become the model of such operations ever since. 终以和谈落幕，而非兵戎相见。布鲁塞尔新政权遂成金融蚕食之绝佳目标。詹姆斯·罗斯柴尔德所情化之策略，自此便成为操作之归谬。Now, which we should take advantage to make the absolute master of the country's finances. The first step will to establish ourselves on an uneven footing with Belgium's new financial minister, 并接受他可能提供的所有国库债权。Take advantage. To make ourselves absolutely master of the countries. The first step will be establish ourselves on an intimate footing. Establish an intimate footing with Belgium's new finance minister to gain his confidence. And to take all the treasury bonds he may offer us. 此刻正是我等掌控该国财政命脉之良机，首要之务乃与比利时新任财长建立私交，引起信任，并尽数揽下其所发行之国库债权。Perpetual War in 18th Century England. 英格兰的战争 Summary. OK. Wars, great and small, have always been plague to Europe. But it was not until they were easy to finance through central banking and Fed money that they became virtually perpetual. For example, the following war chronicle begins immediately following the formation of the Bank of England, which, as you recall, was created for the specific purpose of financing a war. In addition to these European conflicts, there also were two wars with America: the War of Independence of the War and the War in between. England was at war. That is one out of every 2 years in combat. The others were spent preparing for combat. The mark of the registered familiar is unmistakable in these conflicts. Military scientists often were seen financing both sides, whether ending in victory or defeat. The outcome merely preserved or restored the usual balance of power. And the most permanent result of any of these wars was expanded government debt for all parties. Okay, that's all for today. By the 19th century, the House Rothschild had become one of the most successful financial institutions the world has ever known. Its meteoric rise can be attributed to the great industry and the sureness. 我们明天再读吧，明天再读吧，明天我们把上一章总结一下这个 Rothschilds 的 formula. Okay, I think today will be here. 240232 Yeah, okay, I think that's all for today. Thank you. See you tomorrow. Bye bye.